We're now joined by Dr. John Idumange, who is the Director General of the Human and Environmental Rights Dynamic Advocacy Development Initiative. Now, whilst we talk about this need to enhance advocacy in human behavior, it is also tied to the functions of government in bettering the lots of people through delivering the dividends of democracy. Now, whilst elected governments come into power with beautiful manifestos and blueprints on how they can get the economy back on track and better affect the lives of citizens, most of the times, this quest is hampered by politics. It is regular to hear the adage that the time for electioneering and politicking is over, now is the time for government. But this is not usually the case, because whilst an elected government is in power, on the one hand, they're trying to govern. On the other hand, they're building momentum towards the next election circle. Now, taking for instance the case study in Rivers State is also the role and effects of godfatherism. This cannot be far removed from the conversation anytime we talk about the incumbent governor, Sasimilai Fubara, and his predecessor, now the FCT minister, Barrister Wike. Now, whilst these two at some point were in the same government and shared some exclusive mutual relationships that birthed the coming on board of Sasimilai Fubara, it is how fast the chips have fallen. Now, whilst many are talking about overbearing influence having played a role, the State House of Assembly in its stead has now chosen to reflect this fractured relationship. There are factions of lawmakers loyal to the FCC minister, whilst other factions are loyal to the state governor. Now, this breakdown in the relationship now is affecting the lives of the citizens who took out time to go to their polling units, cast their votes on ballots to elect their chosen governor. Now, the citizens at that point in this negotiation had no business with who was supposed to be a successor. They believed that they were voting the right candidate of the job. The citizens in that same stead marched to the ballots to vote the lawmakers to represent them in the State House of Assembly, with the mindset that these are lawmakers who would come up with laws that would better the quest of elected leaders to govern in a synergy between the three arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. Now, these legislators at some point might have forgotten that the budget of each year on the states, on how whatever enormous, or when you will call them well-meaning projects to affect the lives of the citizens, are hinged on the Appropriation Act. Now, in Rivers States, the Martin Mahuelu-led faction of the State House of Assembly had approached the courts in a result we're seeing that had played out yesterday, whereby Justice Joy Abdul-Malik of the Federal High Court in Abuja issued a judgment restraining Rivers from obtaining any more fundings from its consolidated accounts. Whilst that is the case, how do the people of Rivers State, who are supposed to be the main character in this story, obtain the contracts of an election that produced Governor Sasimilai Fubara? It is indeed a very dynamic situation. Now, whilst this is the challenge on hand, the governor instead is making a promise, which I believe is backed by the IGR of Rivers State, because he has said, despite this court judgment restraining funds from reaching Rivers State from the CBN and AGF, he is ensuring the workers and people of Rivers State that salaries will continue to flow. Now, how many states in Nigeria can make that boast? Now, Rivers, yes, the oil wells, the IGR is flowing, but a lot of persons, much like Barrister Elias Ofor, feel that there's no state in Nigeria that would say it is not well benefiting of the federal allocation. We looked at that infographics yesterday. 32 states in Nigeria depend on FAC for 50% of their revenue, while 14 depend as high as 70% on FAC for revenue. Now, this poor state's IGR is a conversation many will continue to have. But remember, we're staying with the case study in Rivers State. This court's judgment, the cause and effect on the Rivers people, who I believe are central to the story. Now, whilst many believe that the judgment can be appealed, the challenge here is the main bane of the issue, which continues to lie on a constituted assembly passing a lawful appropriation act. How do we get this requirement as occasioned in the judgment issued by Justice Joyce Abdulmalik? What are some of the templates that will play out in going forward with this? The interest of this matter to the people of Nigeria, you would remember, is now a historic one. Many would remember that under President Olusegun Obasanjo, a similar fate befell Lagos State. Taking from antecedents and borrowing from history, how does Rivers resolve this issue? In the interim, I must tell you, one man I do not envy is Governor Sasimilai Fubara. How difficult it must be to govern a state where the synergy between the arms of government is somewhat lacking, particularly in the legislative house, where the two factions continue to be much of a bane. Now, that breakdown in relationship has also trickled down into the third tier of government in Rivers State, where even the local government and its polity is heated. Of course, we did televise and also inform you about some of the breakdown law and order following the conduct of the local government elections. Well, kudos to the law enforcement agencies for restoring the peace in Rivers. But I would tell you, Rivers is on a keg of gunpowder. And with judgments like this, even the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, believes that these judgments are a precipice for danger. He's also been a little bit, would I say, oppositionist in his comments. He has taken it a step further by pointing accusing fingers to loyalists of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who he says is strong-arming the judiciary to produce such judgments. Is this indeed the truth? Well, whilst I look to give you my own perspectives to this story, it is never a complete conversation without having our guests join in. So let's see if we can rejoin Dr. John Idumange this morning to also lend his thoughts. Hello, doctor. Can you hear me? Hello, doctor. Oh, while doctor looks to join the conversation, we're hoping that we don't have any technical glitches, but I did have created the background to this conversation, and I'm hoping to also get doctor's perspectives in this stead as to how this court judgment changes the dynamics, what happens in the State House of Assembly at this point, and can there be an intervention? Yes, we've seen interventions prior to this. The president constituted a peace pact signing deal. The National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, was present. The PDP represented by the state chairman in Rivers State, the APC as well, all represented in Rivers State. The FCT minister also appended his signature to it, much like the Rivers State governor. But this morning, the Rivers State governor is also faulting that peace pact signing deal. He says he was strong-armed into doing it. And he only did it because he is a man that respects peace. He says he would not resort to violence, and he believes that the lives and property in Rivers State are not worth the drama unfolding. But he also adds a caveat to it. He says that his peaceful approach and demeanor should not be taken for granted. Well, it's about talking tough in a time when, remember, the central character in this story should be the Rivers people. Now, earlier on the show, we also looked at it from the perspective of this fractured relationship, which a lot of people say is the basis of this, the face-off between Governor Fubara and Barrister Wike. Many are also accusing the FCT minister of having a stronghold on the judiciary. Is this the case? Well, Nigeria has a new Chief Justice, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, and this will be one of the call cards as to how many would rate the current judicial system in keeping with the rule of law. And whilst the suspension order is a bane in Rivers State, there are other issues in the stead. Now, we had looked to establish a connection with Dr. John Idumange virtually, but network has not been kind to us. In the alternative, we've chosen to reach him via phone call. If our phone lines are up and running, let's see if we can have a fluid conversation with Doctor. Hello, Dr. John.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. The line is still faint. I think it's a network problem.
Yeah, it is indeed. The communication networks these days have been quite poor, but let's see if we can manage it so we pick your thoughts and get your say on this issue. Well, I have
Thanks for the
background
effort.
on it, and we're happy to have you join us. But let's get your thoughts. Once you looked at this suspension orders issued yesterday by the Federal High Court, what was your first thought?
You see, there is one thing that destroys the democracy. At the moment the judiciary is corrupt, then everything else is gone. The judiciary is the last hope of the common man, and if you look at the work they do, the judiciary does, they are like God on earth. Because when you pass a judgment concerning any dispute, and that judgment is final, it affects a whole range of issues. So I think they should, I am not looking at the court to find solution to the feud between Fubara and Wike. I think they should look for a political solution to it. Because the law courts in Nigeria are becoming, in fact, somebody on a platform described them as entities of immense value. I would not want to believe so, because I still believe in the judiciary, their impartiality and their integrity to deliver judgment. You see, the judiciary is key to the flourishing of democracy, because in Africa, most of the time, matters don't end up with elections. You have a winner, you have a loser, the tussle begins. They will drag the matter until they get to the Supreme Court and so on. But the case of Nigeria is becoming notorious. Notorious in the sense that nobody accepts defeat in any election. And when the matter is taken to the law court, people don't go home and sleep. They begin to look at who do you know in the judiciary. And judges are supposed to be upright, given their high standard, the high standard expected of them. So when I saw the judgment of the High Court, in fact, I just felt that the judiciary sometimes oversteps our bounds, or sometimes some judgments that are not based on precedence causes a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion and tension.
Now, Dr. John, let's take this matter a little bit back. Let's start from the political solution that the president in himself thought would solve the issue in River State when he invited for a peace signing the two parties. Do you think that the next political solution should go beyond a signing of a peace pact?
The president is not in a position to settle that problem. When I mean political solution, they should look for an informal way. Look at credible Nigerians, especially those in the Niger, those in River State and other states around in the Niger Delta. Credible Nigerians, elders that are respected, to sit around and resolve the matter. The president belongs to a political party, and he has taken Wike as his first son because of the role Wike played during the 2023 election. So the president is not in a position to resolve that matter. But if we look at other people, other credible Nigerians in River State and around the Niger Delta that can resolve the matter, I think that's the best option. The president himself cannot resolve the political issue because he is a politician. And in resolving the issue, he will always tilt the pendulum of justice. Okay. Yes, because today Wike is minister. So you cannot be a judge in your own. The standard of judgment, there are two things involved. One is that you should be impartial. The other one is that anybody coming to court should be able to provide evidence and so on. So the president's intervention was at that time, but he was not supposed to be the one to, settle the dispute between Fubara and Wike.
Now, Dr. John, let's also look at some of the issues with the president stepping in the first stead. Many have looked at it from the angle of federal might and possibly the reason why the defection in the State House of Assembly took place in trying to project some of the outcomes going into 2027. Now, how does the State House of Assembly put itself in order now that we also have two factions, one loyal to the FCT minister and one loyal to the governor, even in a State House of Assembly?
That is a most important issue now to be resolved. Whereas the Fubara faction, there are some people who are playing a very bad role in this conflict. Some will go to Wike and come back to Fubara, more mongers and those who peddle rumors just to gain favor from either Fubara or Wike. I should have thought that the law courts will look at the issue of defection even before going to this extent of telling the CBN and whatever to stop releasing the allocations applicable to River State. For me, that is a clear case of arm twisting. I'm twisting the government. You want the people of River State to take the laws into their hands. It's an invitation to anarchy and lawlessness. So the law court should be able to, what this matter can be resolved is when there is compromise. Fubara has to give up some of his demands. Wike has to also give up some of his demands. Then they can find the common ground and live amicably. As a matter of fact, the cannot constitute what we call the River State House of Assembly. There are too few. If the number was 50-50, one would have said, okay, 50% of the lawmakers are in support of Fubara. We can make do with the 50%. But this one, the number is so skewed against Fubara, skewed in favor of the federal capital territory minister. So a political solution is the way forward. They should call elder statesmen like Ike Clark and all that. We have in River, yesterday I attended an inaugural lecture, and guess the question they asked me outside as soon as the inaugural lecture was over. Instead of asking me questions concerning, they were, in fact, the feud between Fubara and Wike has overshadowed even the job that is being done in River State. So I think it is high time we put an end to it.
Now,
by exploring, bringing in elder statesmen to resolve the matter. And that's the only way forward to a lasting solution in River State.
Now
lasting a peace.
Whilst you have rightly preferred the invitation of elder statesmen to resolve this issue, one of the persons who are most affected by these breakdown in relationship are the people of Rivers. Some people are calling it a case of financial limbo. Do you think that whilst River State can boast of a strong IGR, some of the capital expenditures needed to deliver dividends of democracy are jeopardized by this ruling?
No, the state cannot run on IGR. No state, there's no state. Even maybe it's only, the only exception is maybe Lagos State. Only 25% of all the funding, about 26% or so, the IGR in Lagos, the IGR can take care of so many things, even without the FAC receipts. But River State cannot do anything without the IGR is high, quite all right, but it is not enough to embark on capital projects. No way. It's too small. Rivers people cannot be denied. Hello?
Yeah, but with you, the line cut off for a bit there, but you can pick up from where you left off.
River State cannot be denied the benefit of receiving the allocation as an oil-producing state and as a state, an important state in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the two parties should agree to nominate credible Nigerians to mediate. the law court, and you have seen it now, the law court cannot find a solution to this problem. The law courts, when you adopt a win-win approach, one party will be so discontented, so dissatisfied with the judgment, and the matter will go on until, even if you take the matter to the, will still not be happy. So in order to bring compromise to the whole issue and to bring lasting peace between Fubara and Wike, these two people, remember, these people have worked together for so many years as friends, even though it was a master-servant relationship. But they have worked for so many years, they understand themselves. So, for me, that is the reality of the moment. Now, the law court cannot bring peace. But the law court, lawyers and the judges are also human beings. They are susceptible to the vagaries and vicissitudes of our economy. Today, economic survival seems to be the most important thing in the life of every man. And gone are the days when we said the judges could not be bribed. Now, we are beginning to interrogate the integrity of judges over most of these political cases. So,
now,
call a man like Ike Clark, call Ferdinand Anabraba, some Peter Side, Atedo Peter Side, and some other people who are not playing politics. Call them around. Now they sit down. They will go into the room and assess this matter, and none of it will happen. That's the only way to move forward. No state makes progress without peace.
Now, talking about keeping the peace in River State, Dr. John, many are also looking at the issue with local governments, whereby after the local government election, we also saw a breakdown in law and peace and order.
That was not a breakdown of Soviet local government. It was rascality on the part of the police. And it is very obvious, the way the police acted. And virtually, it is, without being told, acted on the instruction of the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, who himself lives in the federal territory. And we assume that himself and we can be close friends. So we have gone past all of that. I think the River State government has set up a panel or commission of inquiry to find out what really happened. But it is a matter that if you look at it, if you know the cause of a problem, you don't.
Your call credit has been exhausted.
Well, we're rudely interrupted with that call with Dr. John Idumange, but looking to make his point, he has said if you know the root cause of a matter, you invite persons to the table to discuss it. And he's saying in River State, in solving the power tussle between the FCT minister and the governor, elder statesmen need to be invited. The president, in his words, has no business in resolving the political impasse.